You make an incredible New York pizza.
God forbid, if you have a dough rip or anything, you don't lose sauce in the oven. So because of the sugar, my pizzas tend to cook a little faster on the bottom than they do on the top.
Bottom is like the classic point, and you have this beautiful result. Pizza University is known for having all the all-stars in the roster, right? And Nick is another one that first time he's ever doing something with us is right now today. I love New York pizza, and I heard that you make an incredible New York pizza. Tell me a little bit, your pizzeria's name, what is it called?
Piece of Pie on Hartwell. I actually attended Pizza University in 2022. In December of 22, I took a class on New York and Neapolitan style pizza. As I said, I am in South Carolina. It's a tiny, tiny little town called Fairplay. What we do, I use a Caputo flour. I use Caputo Americana. We do a 62% hydration, and all of our dough is on about at least a 24-hour ferment. So we're usually making the dough previously the day before for the dough that we're going to use the next day. A lot of places you'll see they do put sauce inside of a calzone or inside of a stromboli. We don't, because it just makes it a little easier for us. God forbid, if you have a dough rip or anything, you don't lose sauce in the oven. So
there's a lot of people who aren't used to seeing this dough stretched.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about your method and how you develop that?
There are many, many ways to stretch pizza dough. I still stick to the part or the way that I learned at Pizza University. A lot of my guys at the restaurant will slap dough. Everybody can do it different, but like I said, as long as you're getting to the same finished product, that's all that really matters. So when I am pressing this out, I'm going to get this out as carefully as I can not to damage the gluten structure. I'm going to sit this in flour, cover the top, and then my main concern here is I'm just going to press the center of the dough out to force the air into the crust. If you put one finger on top of the other like this, if you look at the top of my fingers, you see it's a nice round circle. You're just going to push the air from this dough from the bottom to the top. So as I work here, I'm going to push this dough, or push the air in this dough onto this crust.
So that method, again, when we talk about even Neapolitan pizza,
yep,
or the pizza classica, we start with that method of dimpling. When you showed your fingers like this,
yep,
first thing I said,
yep,
he learned it from an Italian. We go forward, and we flip. Do you know why we flip? It's an important reason. We flip because the air that's in here, if we start here kind of towards the middle and go this way and then flip,
yep,
we don't lose all the air bubbles coming off the side.
So then once you're working here, there's a couple different ways. The Italian way we learned at school was the slap method. We do it a little different. I love tossing pizza. It is the funnest thing in the world to see. We've literally installed a huge window in our wall, so when you come in the restaurant, you can see the pizzas being tossed up. So once I get to this spot, I'm going to try to take a little of this excess flour off, and I'm going to turn around so you guys can see my hand. It's very easy. I'm going to try to stretch the dough without messing with the crust. So I'm just going to pull, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to pull. Now at this point, the center of this dough is stretched, so I don't want to stretch the center of this anymore so we don't get it too thin, it doesn't rip in the oven or anything. So now I'm going to move my hands to the outside of this crust, and I prefer to use my thumbs, and I'm just going to keep it right on the inside of this crust, and now I'm stretching just on the exterior of that, but I'm not stretching this center part, because if you get real thin, you can see how it's starting to lighten, if everybody can kind of see that. And then I am actually feeling with the back of my hands to see where my thin spots are and where there's excess dough. While I'm tossing, you'll get to a spot that's thin, and I'll hurry up around that. But as long as you feel this dough, and as you're going, you don't want to get it too thin in any spot. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and pop one in the oven. This first one that I tossed here. So I will put a little flour on here. You can use semolina, you can use flour, other things. We do use flour. So, get this out. I noticed that on your board, you have a circle that's already on there. Yes.
Which I see this actually in a lot of pizzerias that hand stretch dough. The reason is because it's a consistency thing.
Yep.
If you're going to sell somebody a 16-inch pizza, I feel it should either be 16 inches
or a little bit
or
more.
Maybe a little bit bigger.
Yep. If it's touching the sides of the box, that's okay. But if it's smaller than the box, that's when you're going to say, well, wait a minute.
This is another consistency thing, and we see a lot of pizzerias that do this style of pizza say, we're going to make this circle. So if my pizza maker has the dough this size, we can usually go in the oven and keep it the same size as long as you transfer it correctly.
Yep.
This looks like the dough was a smaller dough ball than what was for this peel. It wasn't for this circle.
Yep. You guys get to try this pizza. My pizza sauce, I at least like to think, is very, very different than any traditional pizza pizza sauce you have. Reason being is I actually incorporate a balsamic vinegar in my sauce. So this is a vinegar and herb-based sauce, and you can definitely taste the balsamic. And if you couldn't, I'll be honest, if I couldn't have real cheese, I would eat the vegan cheese.
Okay, that looks great.
When transferring in the oven, one thing is, as you saw, I picked the peel up. I know I'm yelling at you guys. I picked the peel up and tried to shake it. I want this peel to move before I drop it in the oven because you don't want it to stick. If it sticks, it's a mess. There's many different ways of transferring into the oven as well. You can put this on a screen and cook from a screen. You also see some people, especially in Neapolitan, they'll have a metal screen and they will pull the pizza on it and then transfer to the oven. We do use the traditional wooden peel style. It's just much easier. Another thing in South Carolina, we have so many toppings on our pizzas. They want the whole kitchen sink. Our Supreme Pizza's got 12 toppings. It's a nightmare, but people love it. So people love it. Coming off of a wooden peel with that many toppings is much, much easier than it is to transfer from a metal pan.
This peel has perforations on it. It's made of metal. When we use a peel like this, the pizza would be built on the table, and then we would literally come underneath the pizza with the peel, give it a shake, excess flour comes out the bottom, and then we launch into the oven.
Yep.
I can attest that in 36 years in the pizza business, when I was a kid, using a board like this and working a pizza, there's a reason why I got these Popeye forearms, right? Holding this, supporting here, and then being the same height as I was when I was 13 years old, to try to go into the top deck of an oven, right? I blew on my shoulder, my right shoulder, and if I sit here for a while, you'll see a little shake, right? These are very heavy.
They are.
So this is a reason why metal peels became so popular.
Our dough, I do something a lot of other people don't do. We have a very, very small amount of sugar in our dough. Because I cook at 550 and not a higher temp, the sugar helps our dough to caramelize a little bit better. We get a very nice brown coloring from the sugar that's in the dough. It's very, very small. It's literally 1% of our entire mixture. So what we're going to do, because of the sugar, my pizzas tend to cook a little faster on the bottom than they do on the top. So once the bottom has reached the point to where I want it to be, I'm going to slide it over to a screen, which will stop the heat transfer from the bottom of the pizza, and then I'll just move it around and let the top finish. Another thing, as you're cooking, you're going to develop spots that are not as hot as other spots. I mean, you can be in there with a temperature gun and find them, but what I like to do is I'm letting the pizza talk to me. Where it's cooking on the pizza on the edges, I'm going to keep moving that pizza around that spot to get that side. The right-hand side, the outside of this dough is really starting to brown. I can spin it to the front where you guys can see. And we're starting to get nice and golden brown on the bottom. So I'm going to spin this 180 and let it keep going, and then we'll pop it on a screen. Got a nice brown. I'm going to move this over to the screen.
I like this method, and again, this is another thing that we saw a lot in New York coming up when we see like particular like slice shops, things like this. We're gonna start a crust. We've got a lot of colorization. They got a fancy word called the Maillard effect, right? When sugar is caramelized with heat. So the Caputo Americana is a very high protein flour that was made to be similar to another flour that's very recognizable for this style, which is from General Mills, the All Trumps.
All Trumps.
The All Trumps has a little bit of malt inside, or malted barley flour,
Yep.
right? And this has something similar. And the reason why these are in there is to give it that beautiful, like mahogany, that dark, beautiful crust. For this pizza, because of the baking time, this has got to go a little bit longer. And in New York, what they would do is they would take a screen, they would stick the screen underneath the pizza, and it would keep the bottom from continuing to cook, but keep the top cooking so that you can kind of balance it out and extend your bake time. I like your method a little bit better than some of the other methods when I've seen like people will start a pizza on a screen and then stick it in the oven. The problem is that a lot of times it's very difficult to unstick the dough from a pizza screen because as it proofs, it wants to go through the little holes. So I like your method in starting it on a stone. Pizza stone is great because it's porous, it pulls moisture, and it'll give you a crispier crust. And all of a sudden, this pizza has got that gorgeous brown color. The bottom is at the perfect point, and you have this beautiful result. Cheese is melted perfectly. That's a gorgeous pizza. Are you kidding? This is no flop, guys. This is a crispy pizza.
Absolutely.
Great job, brother.
Yeah,
I love this.